This will be a miracle if this works, as my internet is horrible, but we're going to give it a go.
I'm excited. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you for like a year.
I know. I'm very excited to see you too. Hello, hello. Thank you for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming on and to talk about wild horses.
Yes. I'm happy to talk about all day.
Awesome. Well, let's just get right into it because we probably don't have too much time because of, internet and stuff. But I just want to introduce you to our viewers. This is Claire from Skydog Sanctuary, and we're about to talk wild horses. But first, you want to tell us a little bit about your sanctuary, just in case some people don't know, even though everyone knows, but
Sure. I'm actually up here at the moment in Oregon. We have a 9,000-acre sanctuary called Skydog Sanctuary. We're about an hour from Bend in Central Oregon. And we rescue wild horses from at-risk situations or reunite families, one or the other, and bring them here. We rehabilitate them, bring them back to health. Often they're in a terrible shape when we rescue them from kill pens or abuse or neglect or starvation. And we bring them back to health. And then if they're up to it and into it, we turn them out onto our land and let them go back to being wild horses and let them be horses. And it's spectacular thing and a privilege to be able to do, and I love doing it. So that's what we do.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. How many wild horses and burros do you guys have at the Oregon location?
We have 123 wild horses rescued right now, and I think 7 are in Malibu. We have about 40 wild burros, mules, mini hennies, just varying, a zonkey. So we have about 40 sort of hybrids here as well, but mostly it's wild horses.
Oh, that's so crazy. So
crazy.
It's crazy, but it's amazing at the same time.
This week.
So obviously you had to start somewhere. Was there a certain wild horse that kind of inspired you to help other wild horses?
There is, and you've met him. And it was funny because you posted about if you've ever adopted a wild Mustang from here or there or whatever. I was like, all of them, I will do one. The very first Mustang I ever adopted, I had moved to Los Angeles and was living there, and I used to hike in a place called Beechwood Canyon, and they had a little stables there called Sunset Ranch, and they would do trail rides up to the Hollywood sign, and I would see these kind of like string of horses going by when I was hiking, and I was like, gosh, now I'm living in LA, I could have a horse, because I'd had horses my whole life and knew nothing about the Mustang situation. But a girlfriend of mine had a horse at that stables, and I got a horse, and his name's Elvis. He's a quarter horse. And I had him, but I always had friends that wanted to come ride. And I would see this Palomino Mustang. I didn't really know he was a Mustang, but this Palomino horse would get turned out with Elvis quite a lot. And he had a brand on his neck, and his name was Buddy. And I said to the girl, if you ever think of selling that horse, would you consider selling him to me? Because I love him. He's like my dream horse. And she did. About a year later, she said, I can't keep him anymore. And do you want to buy him? I knew you always liked him. So I got Buddy. And then because of the brand on his neck, when I would go riding, people would ask me, about Mustangs. And I didn't really know what they were talking about. I was like, I'm not sure really where he's from or what herd or when he was rounded up. And I started looking into the whole situation of Mustangs and wild horses and really realized, what peril they were in and their plight, and learn more about the situation. So I kind of educated myself about the Mustang world, had Buddy, but when I would go riding with him, he would do this thing where he would sometimes stop and look at these kind of walled open spaces, and he would take a really deep breath. And I know it sounds crazy, but I would feel him saying, help my family or find my family. And I didn't really know why I always kept feeling like this. And then looking into the Mustang situation, I thought, well, I'm going to help other Mustangs. And it wasn't until much later that Laura Lee from Wild Horse Education said, well, maybe he means his real family. And we actually looked into finding some members of his actual herd to reunite with him who are still here. So that was how Skydog started. I mean, it started with Buddy, me helping rescue some other horses, running out of space and going, we're going to need a bigger ranch. And we just felt like, go big or go home. You know, there's a lot of horses that need help. And I went to a lot of other sanctuaries and looked into it and thought, could I do this? And just thought, if I can look after 7 horses, I can look after 70. And we just built. And it's been unbelievable journey, unbelievable support and love, all inspired by other people's love for Mustangs. And that's how I met you. And it's brought some amazing people into my life and some amazing horses. So I couldn't be happier.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And please thank your team, because, I mean, your team is everything. They do so much. And from visiting Skydog, I don't think people realize how much actually goes into it. You know, just from visiting you guys, I've seen vets come and x-ray brand new babies who've barely been gentled and hernias, and you guys just take such good care, and you make sure, like, the water springs that you built, it's just exceptional. And I think you guys are just so amazing and have done so much for awareness for wild horses, and especially adoption as well. Because another thing is, you obviously can't, you get asked to take horses every single day, and you obviously can't take them all. But do you have any advice for people who want to help, who might not be able to take horses, of what they could do to help promote adoption?
Yeah, that's been a huge kind of part of our mission from the beginning. You know, we have had hashtag adopt BLM Mustangs from the beginning, and it's something every horse that we might adopt for a particular reason, like it's a special needs Mustang, or we're reuniting with their family, because we tend not, mainly we don't do straight adoptions with the BLM, but we have done to keep families together, or special needs. But I guess I feel like I read this book called The Tipping Point, and another book called A Purpose-Driven Life, and both of them have kind of inspired me to sort of bring those aspects into what we're doing. And I always think that there will be a tipping point, like if enough people understand the issues, if enough people can be a voice for these horses, enough people can come up with creative ideas. You know, sanctuary is just one part of many solutions that there could be to either keep wild horses on public lands or to promote adoptions. You know, I do wish, I guess, from one point of view, that the BLM could be a little more creative in terms of adopting out horses, in terms of giving more information about them, like, you know, even information about families, because it has become so happily, from our point of view, a kind of a thing for people to try and find the babies of a mare they've adopted, or, you know, and that's very hard to do. BLM don't keep those kind of records. So I kind of feel like when the horses are rounded up, if they could just take photographs of them so people could identify them and get tag numbers, because a lot of people now follow the horses in the wild and want to adopt that horse, but disappear into this massive system, and there's not really that kind of record keeping. But I mean, just I've been trying with our Instagram and our Facebook and the stories that we tell. We just tell these horses stories over and over again. And I feel like that emotionally connects people to these horses to inspire them to take an action, you know, whereas you can go, oh, there's 50,000 horses in holding, or 150,000 horses shipped to slaughter every year. It's a very dry, you can't really understand until you're like, you know, Louisa was going to ship to slaughter, or, you know, to tell their stories and make people understand. Horses, you know, have lives and feelings and families, and just kind of bring the whole thing to life for people. And I hope we've done that to a certain degree. But raising awareness, you know, reposting stuff that you do or I do, I think, you know, you making a documentary about the different HMAs and making them kind of famous in a way, because, you know, we have a herd in Oregon, the Kyger herd, and they're kind of 100% adoption rate because people know about them, or Southsteins, they're very colorful. I kind of would like that to be brought to more herds, because they're not different other herds that are as deserving, as special, like the Warm Springs herd in Oregon that we took a lot from. They are the most exceptional horses in terms of conformation, in terms of training and their minds, and just so many different things. And the Appaloosas and the Roans and the colors that you see in these herds, you're never going to see in a domesticated horse, you know?
Nope.
So yes,
Nope.
my love for them and my passion for them, I try as hard as I can to inspire that in other people. And when we get letters asking us to help fill out an adoption form or asking us to come to the corrals and help pick a horse, I will drop everything for that, because if I can get someone else to adopt a horse, to get a couple of donkeys out of a kill pen, like, you know, that they might never have thought doing, you know, that's more than we can ever do. If we can possibly go, you know, people are like, oh, I didn't know you can go and get a horse for $25 and I can gentle it. So I think that's raising awareness and educating people is one of the biggest things. And there are so many wonderful people doing it now. So we're part of a huge movement, really, that are inspired by horses and wanting to help them, really.
Well, I think it's amazing that you said you're willing to help and support people who are looking to adopt, because it's a really, really scary thing. And if people who aren't that familiar with wild horses, but they do want to adopt and do want to help, it's great to have that support and community. And that's what's great about the Mustang, you know, world. We're all here to support you and your journey and your horse. So thank you.
Yeah. No, and you know, it's wonderful. I kind of, the very first time I ever spoke to you on the phone, I was like, oh my God, this is what we need, you know, like younger people coming up and kind of getting inspired by them and teaching other people and sharing them and you know, just, and I feel it will reach a tipping point and a critical mass where, you know, there are more people for them than against them, you know, because we are up against huge lobbying movements, you know, for cattle ranchers or mining industry. So like we need to be really loud and we need to be an army. And I've always felt like we're building an army. You know, I love it when our numbers go up on social media, not because I'm like thinking, oh, you know, I've got this many followers. It's like, wow, that's more people with eyes on these horses. This army is growing, you know, caring, you know. So most of the time I'm showing beautiful horses out in their natural environment or introducing new horses. But every so often I'm like, please, can everyone, this is an action we need you to take. Like recently for the Wyoming horses. And it is incredible how engaged our followers are and how they will, like, you know, they're immediately asking questions like, where's the link? What do I say? Can I have some talking points? And that's amazing because it's like sort of, they've grown to love them. And then they're like, oh, I want to do something. Okay, if you need me to donate, I'll give $5. Or if you need me to take an action and call my representative to pass the SAFE Act. And that's what really moved me.
I think how you guys made that so successful is because you were willing to go in and tell the story, tell the backstory, give all the information to kind of humanize the horse in a way where we can all relate to it. And I think that's what people want to know. And people, I just think you're doing it right. And I think that's how people are going to, you know, become aware. So I think I love seeing your social media grow because I know the more it grows, the more awareness that you guys are going to get. But
and I feel like, you know, it's like when people are sort of, I don't know, that there's a lot of conflict among advocacy groups and amongst rescues, you know, think, well, we'll attack each other because somehow they're taking funds or they're growing too big, or, but I'm like, no, it's all ships rise in the tide. If there's, you know, someone has donated to us for a horse and then something comes up in their feed for someone else rescuing a horse, I'm like so for that, you know, about supporting other rescues, supporting other groups. And, you know, it's like the BLM know what they want. The cattle ranchers know what they want, but the advocates tend to, there's so much infighting. And so like me talking to you or making connections with other like-minded people, that really every decision that us is based on, is this going to help a horse? Like, is this moving towards, you know, change further up the chain for these horses? And so I'm all about the love, you know, you know, even when we've been attacked, we never attack back, you know, we just kind of are like, we're just doing our thing. You don't have to have conflict amongst, you know, different groups. Like we all just need to kind of think, we need to work together for these wild horses. And we might not all disagree on something, but we all agree, you know, on this, and then move forward with that. And there's power in that. So I hope that that's a change I see in the next few years, because it's kind of sad state of affairs at the moment. So, corporate advocacy and I'm getting a little off subject, but
no, go, let it out.
But yeah, I just think, there's room in this. Every single person that saved a horse, that is doing it their way, that is big or small, and people will go, I'm just doing my own little thing, or I could only give this much. It's like, do you understand that all of us just giving $1 or $5, we just got 6 horses, 5 of them out of kelp hens, home here, and they get to live out the rest of their lives. From everyone just giving a little, because we don't have massive sponsors, we don't have grants, we don't have huge donors, we have a lot of people just giving a little, and that's community, and that's compassion, and that's like the way that everyone can feel involved in this. Even now, if I post Goliath, the people will be like, I donated for that, like I gave $1 to get him there, and they feel connected to that, and it's a pride in that. And these horses are so grateful for that, because they wouldn't be here without all those people joining together to help them, and people like you raising awareness, and Deb, and all of the wonderful people that I've met with the same heart for horses that I have. And I hope that just continues, like even I saw a post on Instagram this week from a girl I didn't really know, but she was kind of talking about the name of her new rescue or sanctuary, and she was saying she was inspired by coming here a year ago. And I was like, that's all I hope for, that maybe someone might come here and be inspired to do something on a small scale, or as big or bigger or more successful. That's what's going to bring change, because we're going to need more sanctuary, we're going to need more land. Absolutely. And more people stepping up, more creative ways to keep the wild. And I think that there is that movement coming up. So I'm thrilled by that.
I agree. I mean, there's something, it's like, I don't know when it was, but something clicked, and people realized like a good news movement is where it is. It's better to be positive and work together than be toxic and tear each other down, because we know that, sorry, there's a horse whinnying in the back.
I love
we know that you're not going to get anywhere by just fighting with each other.
No.
Nope. So we are on the same page with that.
Yeah, we definitely are. And there's, social media definitely was going so far in that direction. It just was like open season on, you can just say what you want. And, I hate, like, I'll see that I hate that woman's voice. And I'm like, that's not really the point, I'm doing my best. But it's like, when did it, I just want people's love for this horse is to almost bring the love back, bring the horse back, bring back compassion and kindness. And that's as much a part of what we do as anything. It's around the horses, but it's also like, come on, be nice, be kind. Like, let's just give us a break here, which is like, we work our butts off in freezing cold and boiling hot and dust and snow, and we're just doing our best. And, we're very transparent. We're all see our horses any day, and I love the days where we go, what horse do you want to see? Who haven't you seen for a while? Or introduce a horse that people know as well. And sometimes it'll be amazing. Like, everyone's like, oh, I haven't seen the horse story. I just love that. And if it is anthropomorphic animal, I'm all about it. Don't come here if you don't want animals anthropomorphized, because I believe they do have feelings and emotions. So I'm not, just because there's a big word to criticize us with, I wish there was an opposite word. The fact that I can recognize a horse's feelings and emotions, and the fact that it does care and has a relationship with its buddies or family, that's just with my own eyes. So I can't help but communicate that way. So.
Yeah, well, keep doing it. Are there any adoptions?
Doing your sorry, I was going to say doing your wait to see your documentary actually come to life, and I know it will. Like, I felt from the beginning, it's gonna get made. I'm gonna watch this. It's beautiful already what you've done, and I can't wait to meet someone that you'll go out and meet.
Oh, I can't wait. I hope it comes to life, because the wild horses and burros really need it.
Yes, they do.
Really need more general awareness.
Yeah, they do. And it is a crazy thing how much the media tends to overlook it and ignore it, because it is such, I think it's complicated. So they start digging into it and they go, oh God, I don't know what's, you know, they'll give up.
Yeah.
But, you know, it just
Well,
needs to be simplified, and we need new blood and new life coming in to kind of like simplify the issue and apply common sense and compassion to an issue that has been broken for way too long. You know, roundups and holding are not the answer and not the only way to manage wild horses, and we need to look at those other solutions. And I hope we do. I hope I get to see it in my lifetime, that's for sure. But meanwhile, we will do our best to save as many as we can.
Great. So is there any other horse or burro you want to talk about real quick, or I don't know, like, or wait, would you mind talking about I think it was 40 burros that you took in from Warm Springs?
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, funnily enough, I was out there this morning because they're on a huge, like, sort of over 1,000-acre area that's probably the furthest from here, and Champ's herd is on that area. But we actually I remember seeing that the Warm Springs Roundup had rounded up 41 wild donkeys. And I remember going on the BLM site because I was like, oh, I didn't know there were wild donkeys in Oregon. And I saw that it said that the amount of wild donkeys in Oregon was 45. Like, that was the BLM number for the year before. And I went, well, then they just rounded up all the wild donkeys in Oregon, you know. And I thought, if that was cheese, like if they went and took all the bobcats or all the mountain lions or something, there would be an outcry. But I think because they were donkeys, people are like, well, there's plenty of donkeys. But these donkeys are so exceptional. Like, you should have seen, when we went to pick them up, we picked up a lot of mares, jennies and their babies, and the fathers of the babies. So we kind of took family groups. And the colors, like there were peach, where there are two called peaches and cream because they are peach colored. And there are some donkeys that are as tall as the horses. They're unbelievable. Like Peggy, the kid, they're probably close to 14 hands. They're so tall. And there was all these like genetics. And I remember going to see the guy at the BLM about asking him to turn some back out because I really felt like they were exceptional. And he was like, oh, we don't manage donkeys for genetics. We just manage to a number. And there's 5 left out there. So, you know, and I was like, 5, like, how can that be genetically viable? But
yeah,
I was determined to kind of preserve the donkeys of Oregon because to me, they were important, even if to everyone else, they were just a bunch of donkeys. So we have them here now. And some the jennies that we took in that had babies by their side, they went on to have one more baby. And so they're all out now with the wild horses. And it's really interesting. It was kind of more of a conservation project than a rescue because we study their herd behaviors, how often they go to water, how much land they cover, like what their familial relationships. And I hope out of that for there's something to come really, because when I was Googling wild burros, there really was nothing. And they would say, oh, they're kind of hard to talk about because they're elusive and no one really sees them. They're in the middle of the desert or whatever. But I was like, well, if we have them here out on, we're actually moving them to 3,000 acres eventually, like as family groups all together. And I just want to study their behavior. And we've been talking to Oregon State University about doing just that and doing a sort of like, you know, scientific study and see what we can learn about them. But it was very funny because I was to the crew, like, don't gentle these donkeys because we want to keep them wild behavior and we want to study them wild. And I went home and came back like 2 or 3 weeks later. All the donkeys are like, hello, and like being petted, like, who touched the donkeys? But they just love people. Incredibly funny. Yeah. I was like, they're not supposed to be gentle. It was kind of funny because they are the friendliest donkeys I've ever met in the world. Aww. So we tried to keep them wild. They're just like people. So
they do. Well, thank you for rescuing that. I think so many people really weren't aware that's what actually happened, and the fact that you were able to take them and preserve their little herd is huge. So
I'm really proud of it, and we love our long ears. I mean, if you like adopting a horse is beyond you, but you can take in a couple of donkeys. They are the easiest animals to look after, and they will provide you with endless love, happiness, joy. Like you can't look at a donkey and not smile. It's impossible. They are really incredible. I think they're sort of you know, their whole beast of burden and kind of like just dismissed as a work animal. They are so amazing. So I'm a huge fan. Wild donkeys, domestic donkeys, and you know, they're in a lot of trouble too for different reasons. But if you ever get the chance to adopt a couple, please do. You'll never regret it.
I love them. I have one. His name is Floyd. He's from Double A, Arizona, and he's the cutest little thing.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, most of them are in Arizona. We only just took in our first Arizona donkey from Black Mountain, Gus, who's hysterical. But most of ours were from Nevada and a couple from California. And the herd that you went out to, Twin Peaks, they have donkeys out there. So, and mules. I remember the last Twin Peaks, there was a lot of mules, and some of them they turned back out. So if there's a couple of mules that need help after that herd gets rounded up, I will be there. Love me a mule. They're a whole nother passion.
So thank you so much for your time. Is there, real quick, is there anything I didn't ask that you want to say, or?
Oh, I'm so happy I could talk all day, because it's what I love. Love sharing my love of the horses and donkeys with anyone. And if there's anyone that like happened to jump on and go, oh, then we did something good today.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Really get everything you're doing. Huge fan. We love you guys, you and Deb, and I can't wait to see the rest of the documentary series. Seriously.
Well, thank you. I love you, and I guess we'll wrap this up and we'll talk soon.
Perfect. All right. Speak soon, Jamie. Bye-bye.
Bye.